Hello, my name's Chris Nichols, and I'm going to talk today about why Garrett County is such a great place to have pets. I'm a local real estate agent with tailor-made Deep Creek Vacations and Sales, and I've also produced a series of maps of the county that show all the great details, and one of them is the Ultimate Adventure Map. It shows all the trails and outdoor adventure stuff to do. So hopefully I can share some of that information with regard to what to do with your pets. I've got three of them, two cats and a dog. Leo is the youngest of them. He's a young cat that's pretty active in spite of his little picture there. Penny's our old lady. She's about 14 years old, we think. But she's still an outdoor cat pretty much all year round and just likes to hang out and bask in the sun. And my guy Spencer there, he's the guy I take on most of the adventures and stuff that I do outside. They're all rescue animals, and we love them all. What I'm going to talk about today is essentially all the great things to do with your pet, mainly your dog. You know, you don't take your cat out on hikes and swimming and that kind of stuff, so it's really going to be dog-centric. Let's face it, but I will talk about the veterinarians in the area that are excellent. So if you do ever have something you need, I'll point you in the right direction for them too. We'll talk about the dog parks, and then we'll just go up the list of places, county and municipal areas, state parks, forests, and even federal recreation areas that some people are not aware of in the county. We'll talk about swimming spots for your dog, good trails that I didn't mention in the previous ones, and then we'll wrap it up with the vets. And I don't really call out the options for eating outside with your dog, but there are a lot of good ones in the area, and I'd say just look for places with outside dining and call ahead and see if they can take you with your dog. So jumping in first with the dog parks, there are two official dog parks in Garrett County. One is in Oakland, Maryland. So I'll zoom out a little bit. You can see Oakland and the lake, and zoom in to see where that dog park is. It's a real nice one. They've got all kinds of agility equipment there for your dog. They have the small and large dog area. It's a little bit smaller overall than the other dog park I'll talk about, but it's still a really nice one. Free to use, and just make a donation to help support it. The other dog park is at the McHenry Community Park, run by the Deep Creek Lake Lions Club. So here's the McHenry area of the lake, and just out Bumblebee Road about a mile is the Deep Creek Lions Club Park, and there inside the park is our dog park. Again, it's a double area one with large and small dogs, areas for them, and a little bit bigger overall than the Oakland one, but we don't have all the little agility equipment. But they are both free to use. They are both supported by the community, and the only thing I'm going to just emphasize and say over and over again is clean up after your dog, clean up after your dog, clean up after your dog. I'm part of the Deep Creek Lions Club that maintains this dog park, and one of our most frequent complaints is there's poop all in the dog park, and that's simply because people do not clean up after their dog. Then we have to pay someone to do that very unpleasant task, and it's tough to even get people to pay to do it. So please clean up after your dog. Let's jump into then the parks in the area that are owned by the town and the county. So 7 of the 8 incorporated municipalities in the county have at least some form of a walking trail, if not some more bigger parks that you could take your dog on a leash. Everything other than Deer Park. Deer Park has a really small town park, but I'm not even really sure it'd be worth enough to take your dog to. But all the rest of them have paved, nice walking trails you could take your dog on for a short walk. There are county-owned recreational properties. So we talked about the McHenry Community Park, that's owned by the county but run by the Deep Creek Lions Club. The Fork Run Recreation Area has some nice trails that are maintained by Garrett Trails, but the property again is owned by the county. Councilman Soccer Fields I'm just including here because that's the other piece of county-owned recreation property. I'm not really sure it's too much you'd want to take your dog there. Again, you don't want to mix dogs on athletic fields. If you kind of miss your dog, leaving a deposit there, you don't want to leave that for the next person playing soccer. But all of those spots, the county and the municipalities, to my knowledge, do not prohibit dogs if you have them properly controlled. So leashed, licensed, vaccinated dogs are not prohibited, to my knowledge, in any of those spots. But always use your best judgment. Check before you go. Most of the towns have websites. You can check them out and see what kind of facilities they have. And also be aware there is a animal control ordinance in the county that's linked there. I just brought it up. It's rather lengthy, but especially if you live here, there's some stuff you should be aware of in the county ordinance that many people either are not aware of or don't choose to follow. But it's good stuff to make yourself aware of. Visitors, you don't really have to worry as much about it. Most of the stuff applies to people who own pets in the county. So moving up the governmental food chain, looking at state parks and forests and other state-owned land. Most of the state parks in the county have at least something that is amenable for you to bring your pet with you. So many of them have camping. Most of them have some sort of trails, and then the ones that are associated with a lake have swimming, that your dog can swim in that lake, subject to some limitations on when they can do that we'll talk about in the next slide. So I would say really the only major state park in the county that doesn't really have too much for your dog to do would be the Castleman River State Park, and that's because that's essentially just the bridge, which is a very cool historic feature to check out, but the state park is essentially just that bridge, so there's not a whole lot for you to walk your dog around and do anything there. But most of the rest of the state parks have at least something for you. You can bring your dog camping or take them out on trails. The state forests in the county that cover a lot of the area of the county or the state-owned land, Potomac State Forest and Savage River State Forest and Potomac Garrett State Forest, they both have trails and camping throughout both of those very large areas. I'll talk a little bit about some specific trails that are good, but they have a more rugged and remote camping experience typically than the state parks do, and same with the trails. They're not typically as heavily maintained as state park facilities, so you get more of a little, less crowded and somewhat of a more backwoods experience. Then there are some unique management administrative areas of also state-owned land. The Mount Nebo Wildlife Management Area has a nice trail for dogs, and the Youghiogheny Natural Environment Area that follows along the Youghiogheny River has a trail that you can take your pet along to. I'm not going to go through all the rules, but this is from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources website. There's a link to it there, and these are all just good practices when taking your pet out, whether you live in an area or you're a visitor. All good ideas and kind of best practices of having a pet in public spaces. As I said, there were some specific rules related to pets in some of the state park areas. So essentially, this is from a table that's linked here. I brought that up. You can just see that it lists all of the state parks in the state, and there are some specific regulations mainly related to when you can have pets in the day use area and the lake. So the day use area is kind of the area that you get charged, that's the main public area within these parks. And for the parks with lakes, so you've got Deep Creek, Harrington Manor, and New Germany, you can have pets and in the day use area and the lake, except from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So that is pretty much the whole summer. But they can swim, they can be in that main area, except for that summer block. Then they're not allowed. Just probably due mainly to the crowding. And then Swallow Falls is kind of that same idea, the heavily used canyon trail where you can get the hike and see all three of the waterfalls in that area. Pets are not allowed on that trail and the day use area during that summer block. So if you want to take your pet swimming, you can find a couple other spots that I'll point out, or have to wait until outside that summer block time. And then at the top of the food chain of the administrative of public lands are federal recreation areas, and there's people may not be as aware of those. They are Jennings Randolph Lake in the southern edge of the county, and Youghiogheny River Lake on the northwest corner. The Jennings Randolph Lake is formed by a dam on the Potomac River, which forms the southern border of Garrett County. So you can see generally where that is. It is a nice, both of these have some nice facilities that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers maintains these lakes, since they built the dams and they operate the dams. Then they also operate the recreational facilities there. So you can see Jennings Randolph Lake is half on Maryland and half in West Virginia. Most of the recreational facilities, there's a campground, small trail, and a public kind of beach on the West Virginia side. On the Maryland side is a boat launch, a nice fishing spot, fishing access, and a bigger trail that you can go all the way down to the Potomac there. The Youghiogheny River Lake is in the northwest corner of the state, straddles Maryland, and it's mostly in Pennsylvania. There are camping and boat launch facilities. You can use most of the shoreline for fishing for this lake, and I was not able to find anything specifically prohibiting pets anywhere in these areas. There was some language on both the websites for both the lakes about, you can have pets in the campground allowed on a leash, but nothing about them in the other areas. So I would say that, most of these areas on these lakes are fairly lightly used. So I would say use your best judgment. Any of these shoreline access spots, I bet you could, take your dog to and have them swim with no problem if you weren't making a problem, that type of thing. So just jumping literally and figuratively into where can your dog swim. As we talked about, there was Deep Creek, Harrington Manor, and New Germany Lakes with the limitations on the table that I discussed above, and some special spots on Deep Creek that you can swim anytime. So the limitation that was in that table said, in the day use area and the beach area, you can't have pets from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So there's the beach area that you can't use, and this is kind of the whole day use area here. But right as you come into the park, there's this, not sandy beach, but a nice dirt, kind of not rocky area that your dogs can swim in and out of. And if you look on the map, most people associate this area with the state park, but this area along here further north on State Park Road is also part of the Deep Creek Lake State Park. And you can see here there's a couple of spots that are kind of widened on the road where you can pull off and walk down, and your dog can swim in those spots as well. So those are not limited by that window of time. You can take your dog swimming there and this little area here outside of that window. So back to the Youghiogheny River Lake and Jennings Randolph Lake. Like I said, I couldn't find anything that specifically said you can't have your dog swimming there, so I imagine if you didn't do anything stupid about it, that would not be a problem. The Youghiogheny, Potomac, and Savage rivers, there are some areas where there's, some level access areas, where I've been able to walk into the river, and they're adjoining public land. I'd be kind of reluctant to let my dog swim in there. My dog's even pretty athletic, but you just never know what they're going to do if they get stuck in a current or that kind of thing. So it's possible, but I'd be kind of reluctant unless I was really sure about river conditions and they were pretty low and that kind of thing. There is specifically no swimming for dogs in the Broadford Lake. That's near Oakland, so that's a park that's maintained by Oakland and Mountain Lake Park. There's specifically provisions or prohibitions on dogs swimming in Broadford Lake. There is a sandy beach where people can swim. And although I couldn't find anything specific that said dogs can't swim in Savage River Reservoir, which is another one of the bigger bodies of water in the county. So you can see there's Deep Creek. This is the Savage River Reservoir that's formed by damming up the Savage River. And like I said, I couldn't find anything specifically said whether dogs can or can't, but people are not allowed to swim in this reservoir. It serves a drinking water use. So people are not allowed. I would really just say dogs aren't either, and I wouldn't push the issue by sneaking in there with my dog. So let's look at some other trails that I didn't mention. I like low traffic, wide, straight trails when I'm walking my dog. If he does happen to be off the leash, then I like to be able to see, if he's running ahead of me, I like to be able to have a good line of sight on him. So the Mount Nebo trails outside of Oakland. There's some trails in the state forest properties, the Negro Mountain, the Asa Durst, the Wallman and Laurel Run areas. Those are fairly, good trails for that type of thing of just walking your dog, not having a lot of other people around to encounter. If you just want to kind of let them run around, those are good areas. Streams or trails that follow a stream kind of provide a nice natural, fence almost of if you're down in the stream canyon, so to speak. It makes it a little tougher for your dog to go off on other adventures. So the Poplar Lick and Monroe Run trails, and those, if you want a little water fix for your dog, they can splash around in those streams. And the Kendall Trail follows along the Youghiogheny River and provides a nice experience for that for your dogs as well. A lot of the other trails in the county are nice trails, but they're all getting a lot more use. So if you're trying to get kind of off the beaten path, it's good to find some of these other trails. And a good resource for that is my Ultimate Garrett County Adventure Map. So there's a version of this that's online that is free to use. It is you link through my website and through the Garrett Trails site, and you can see all of the trails, trails on public land in the county, and check them all out. There's a lot of other cool features, camping spots and historic spots and that kind of stuff on the electronic online version. And then you can also order a paper copy at my website, narrowshill.com. You can go to the adventure maps and order one online there to help you find some good spots to go just for yourself and take your dog out on as well. If you do need to get pet health care, we have a lot of good veterinarians in the area. I'm not going to promote anyone in particular. I do have ones that I go to, but I haven't heard, I've heard one or two bad things about all the vets on this list, but nothing, sustained. So I think there's always going to be complaints or just didn't work out with a particular place. I've never heard anything about any of these vets that I would say I would not ever take my animal there. So they all seem to be reputable, good vets. It may just be a matter of how convenient one is for you. If you do need emergency 24-hour veterinarian health care, The closest one that I'm aware of is the Cheat Lake Animal Hospital over near Morgantown, West Virginia. So if you need that, uh, you know, that may be your best bet. It's a hike, but that's the only one I'm aware of that operates on a 24-hour basis. So an active pet is a happy pet. I like to take Spencer out and do lots of great stuff. I've taken him cross-country skiing. This is actually called skijoring, when you have your dog hooked up to you and they help you pull along while you're cross-country skiing. He loves to just relax and lay in the yard, definitely swimming, hiking, but at the end of all of that, he's always a happy, tired doggy. And I'd love to help you find your perfect pet paradise in Garrett County, Maryland. I am a real estate agent and would love to help you talk about anything, about stuff to do in the area, your real estate needs, some stuff to do with your pets. But I'd love to help you jump into a new adventure, and I love sharing all the great stuff that Garrett County has to offer. So until I talk to you soon, and get out there with your pet and enjoy what we have to offer.